Welcome back to episode 26 of my East Coast Fitness Podcast. And I'm your host, Mark Lewis. And today I'm joined with another special guest. And like I do with every episode of my podcast, I just let them introduce yourself. So if you could introduce yourself to the viewers, then that would be awesome.
Hey guys, my name is Dan, Bibestrong on Instagram. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Romania. I moved back to Romania recently, like a couple months ago. But actually, I got a bachelor degree in hospitality in the Netherlands, where I lived for like 5 years, pretty much 5 years. And right now I'm here in Romania due to the COVID situation and everything. And I'm a personal trainer as well. I got a degree in that. And pretty much I have an online coaching business. That's what I do part-time. But at the moment, because of my injury and everything that went on with the COVID, I got a full-time sales job as well. But yeah, that's me right now. So
Awesome. How are the gyms over there in terms of Europe and like that area? Are they good?
um, yeah, yes and no. I could say, I mean, I like old school gyms,
Mhm.
and most of the gyms over here are like old school, which is quite
Yeah.
nice actually. But I don't know. In the Netherlands, the gyms were a little bit more structured, let's say, and bigger. Over here, the space is limited, I guess. You don't have
So
like
more, so
huge
more like
gyms.
more commercial style gyms versus like private
Exactly,
gyms.
exactly.
Yeah.
They are smaller. So when I was in the Netherlands, I used to train at a big gym. It's actually called Big Gym. It was it was
Well,
actually
they picked the right name at least, eh?
exactly. It was a chain of gyms. It's actually, I think, one of the biggest chains in the Netherlands. And yeah, it's a nice gym. It's one of the, I think, the best gym I've ever been to, actually. But there are a couple gyms here in Bucharest that are also pretty nice.
Awesome. So yeah, basically how I kind of like, I try to get a good background on how people started. So that's kind of my first topic that I kind of want to go into. How did you like, so when you started training, like how old were you when you first started training? And I guess like what sparked your interest into like training and getting into like weightlifting?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm 24. I think I started training when I finished high school. I actually finished high school when I just turned 17, and then I started working out with some friends. They insisted, let's go to the gym. I didn't really want to go actually, so they they pushed me into it. I started going, and the first 3 months were a struggle. I didn't really like it. But then I don't know. I started taking like some protein powder, like creatine, and then I don't really know what happened. It was just like something like this. I just looked in the mirror one time and I said, "Oh, I like what's going on." So the results pretty much sparked my interest, let's say, because I didn't go to the gym with a goal in mind. I just trained with my
Yeah.
friends, just ate whatever I wanted to eat, and then at one point, after a couple months, I saw that those results were coming in, and then I was just hooked. So
So in terms of like, you mentioned that you weren't really kind of into it when you first started. I guess like, what was the biggest struggle that you found like when you first started, like looking back now to like where you are now to where you started? Like, what do you think is like the biggest struggle that you were to like kind of overcome or like thing that you learned from now to where you are or from when you first started?
Yeah. Well, let's say before I started liking it, the struggle was just going there, basically. But
Mhm.
how I overcame that, in my experience, it was my friends. So I went with my friends at the gym. Otherwise, I don't think I owe them huge thanks for that actually, because without them, I
Yeah.
don't think I would have ever started this. Actually, maybe at one point I would have gone to the gym, but probably I wouldn't have stayed consistent. And yeah, but after that, what kept me going was just purely the results and the knowledge that I was gaining. Because when you see those results like at the beginning, and then once
Mhm.
they stop, you're like, oh, what's happening? Why am I not getting results anymore? So then I started looking more into nutrition, training techniques, and stuff like that, and then that's what kept me going. So the knowledge that I was gaining. Yeah.
So do you currently still train with some? Do you prefer training alone now, or do you kind of prefer training with other people? Like still.
I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50. Most of the time I train alone. Most of the time I train alone. I would say in order to get to the next level, like competing and stuff, you either need to train alone or with someone that has the same goal in mind. But
Yeah,
one
it's
one
hard.
of the
It's hard to like go into the gym when people have like different goals. Like if you're training with someone who like doesn't take it as seriously as like you do. Personally, for me, like I've always trained alone, just simply because like I just hate working around other people's schedule. Like I've always like tried to like get a couple friends together or something and go to the gym, and then like one guy who isn't committed like ends up like skipping, and then like I try to message my other friend who was supposed to go, and it was just like ends up being more of an ordeal, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's just not, sometimes it's not worth it. But like if somebody messages me and they're like going to the gym and like they're going to the same gym as I will, like I'll go with them obviously. But I'm in the same boat. Like I think that like training alone, like I just like being able to put my music on and just like going hard, like trying to train hard or whatever. So I find that sometimes it's good from like an intensity standpoint if you get like somebody who has similar goals, because like they're pushing you. And obviously like rest times is pretty good too, because you're trading back and forth. So you're more likely to be like off your phone. I find like some of the biggest times where I'm training alone sometimes, like when I'm not into it, I'm just like in between sets, I'm just like looking at my phone, and I end up getting distracted. Whereas if I had someone like that was doing deadlifts with me, you know what I mean? It'd be like his set, my set, his set, my set. So it'd be, but like, I think that it really matters. Like, I think you brought up a good point that like, you have to have somebody who's kind of like on the same page as you. And then same thing with like exercises too. Like you probably, from where you started, if you were training with like a beginner, you wouldn't necessarily do all these intensity techniques and all these different types of like exercises. So it would be kind of hard to train with somebody like that. So they need to be kind of like on par with, do you know what I mean? Like your physique and kind of where you are.
It can also be a beginner, of course, but it has to be a motivated person, let's say. Because if someone that wants to talk between sets and stuff, I mean,
Yeah,
it's nice once in a while. It's nice to have a workout like that, like socializing, and at the same time, sometimes once in a while, But when you have a goal in mind, you really need to get on it, 100%, and like record your resting time, sorry, and yeah, be on it pretty much.
So do you train with your girlfriend at all, or do you guys just kind of like go to the gym together?
Yeah, yeah, we train together. And she goes pretty intense as well, so we can train together. That's not an issue. But she doesn't train as often, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 75% I train alone, 75% of the time I train alone, and then 25% I would train with her.
Yeah, I found like the biggest thing like since the gym started reopening was like I was so used to like working out at home that like I just kind of like it screwed up my routine. So like
Yeah.
I would be going to the gym at like, well, before COVID, or like when the gyms were open, like everything was going like normal or whatever. Like it was like for me it was like an afternoon thing. So I'd go to the gym at like 2-3 o'clock, something like that. But I just lately found that like I've been like skipping out in the gym, and it's been like a shitty feeling. So like just like recently this week, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna prioritize the gym, because I was too busy like focusing on other things and like wasn't really focused on like how I used to be. Like I used to always, because like, the gym is like my absolute, it's what I love the most, right? Going to the gym and training, and like obviously I compete as well. Like I did my first show last year, so I'm looking to step back on stage probably in like a year's time. I was thinking at the end of this year, but with everything going on, like I probably obviously won't. So I'll probably push it till the end of next year. But yeah, anyways, I was just always prioritizing. So I found myself like always just being like, why am I neglecting this? So what I started doing was this week I started going to the gym in the mornings. So like I'll go at like when they open like at 8 o'clock or whatever. So it's like an adjustment thing for me because I'm not really that much of a morning person. But I think that like once I get adjusted to it, I think it's going to be awesome, because there's no better feeling than like being done your workout at like 10 o'clock or like 9:30, and then just having the day to yourself. You don't need to worry about like, you know what I mean? Like my first thing on my mind when I wake up is the gym. So it's like to be able to like not procrastinate that and like to prioritize it. I feel like it's going to be really, really good.
I mean, you get it out of the way. Also, the first reason is to get out of the way, and second reason is you're probably more focused in the morning, let's say, because you've been thinking about it, and you're like, just let's go to the gym, and then the rest of the day you have it off.
Yeah, because there's not like little things, like stupid things that come up that piss you off during the day. Like, you know what I mean? You get a call from someone and like they piss you off, or like something happens. Like, you're waiting, they screw up your coffee, or like you go like I don't know, like you burn your food, or like whatever it is, like little things like during the day that drive you nuts. Like those things are like, they're not gonna, like if you procrastinate your workout, like it could, like your mood's gonna change during the day. Whether or not you like positive like or negative, but like as you go through the day, you're going to be like, okay, like, so I found that like just like putting that aside and like focusing on my workout, like the little things don't bother me. Like I always make sure that like I go in and like I have a good session, and then like whatever the day is, like if I have a stressful day, it doesn't necessarily matter because like I've got like the most important part of my day out of the way. So I just found that like it was really, it's really good. Like I'll probably stick with it for like at least a couple months. Just kind of see how I feel. Like I find like the strength aspect is a little bit difficult. Because like I could lift the same weight, like if I'm going in like doing squats, but like I just find like the motivation is like not necessarily not there, but it's a lot harder for me. So like I just like I hate rolling out of bed and going to the gym. So I've been waking up like an hour and a half before I go to like wake up.
Yeah.
But then I'm on lower calories now. So like I don't want to eat because if I eat at like 7 a.m., then like my calories are going to be like, I'm going to have less calories because I was eating at like lunchtime. So my first meal would be like 11 o'clock. And I'd spread out my calories.
If you train in the morning, do you eat before or after?
I eat after, but I used to always eat before. So how I used to do it was I used to eat breakfast, which was like at least like 50 grams protein, like a decent amount of carbs, and then like very minimal like amount of fat or whatever. But then I would have like my breakfast, and then I would wait like an hour depending on how I felt, and like go to the gym by the afternoon, and then come back and then like have like a small meal or like dinner or whatever I want. But now it's like I just wake up and I go to the. So I'm training fasted, and like I haven't found to be like that hungry, but I just don't know if like
you get used to it. You get used to it.
Yeah. See, if I was on like higher calories, like I'm trying to like I basically like peaked out my bulk. So like I was bulking and like with the intention of like doing another show or whatever. So I was like trying to like lean bulk to the point where like I was, you know what I mean? Like I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that like I got up to 200 and I think it was 204 pounds or something like that. So when I did my show, I was 168. So, but I mean, I started that at like 200. So for my show, I lost like, I don't know, like 30 something pounds or something.
Yeah.
But like, so like I was at like 168, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll bulk till like I feel comfortable. And I think I bulked like I didn't do it as optimally as I wish I could have. So like I hit a bulk where I was like 200, 205, and I was like, if I just continue bulking, I'm basically just going to get fat. So I was like, I think that like now would be a good time to like put myself in a better position. So when I go to do a show, I don't have to cut as much weight because I'd like to kind of be up to the 170s. Like when I compete again. So if I can get like another pound, like depending on my condition, obviously, and like it's going to change, I hope. But like a 2.5 year, I'm thinking like a 2.5 year off season. Right.
Well, I think in my opinion, if you do a long off season, you gotta add some mini cuts in there. You know, like 4 weeks mini cuts once in a while. Like have 16 weeks lean bulk and then 4 weeks mini cut and then do that again. You know.
That's what I was thinking, and then I was like, you know what, I'll just do like more of a gradual. So I'm basically like losing. I'm in a very very slight surplus or deficit. Sorry. So like instead of like doing like an aggressive, so like a mini cut would be like aggressive, right? Like you'd be losing like
it would be, yeah.
In 4 weeks. And so like I was like, what if I just like slowly cut and then like assess my physique as I'm cutting? So like I'm not. So that was my idea. Like that would have been the smart approach, was to like over time to do like a bulk and then a mini cut and then a bulk. So then you're always kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you're not in a deficit for such a long. Yeah, you're not in a deficit for like an extended period of time. But I was like, you know what? I'll slowly cut calories. So like my goal is like I actually hit the 180s today actually. So I'm down from 200 and whatever I started 203 to like 189. So I'm down like 11 pounds or whatever it is. But my goal is to kind of like get to the low 180s, get to the 170s.
See what it looks like.
Yeah, like, and then that's like a slow
simulate a prep.
Yeah, just to simulate like a 13, like a 14 week, 15 week or whatever it is. But like if it has to be longer, like I'm okay with that. But I just think that like assessing my physique and I need to be able to get a little bit lean to see if where I'm at like my physique wise.
Yeah.
Because like it's hard to tell when you've got an excessive amount of body fat, like what you're working with.
I guess. Depends really. If you take pictures and you take pictures at 200 pounds last year, and you take pictures at 100 pounds this year, can see the difference, and you can tell if you made progress or not. But of course, it's difficult. It's difficult to tell for sure, you know.
Yeah, so that was one of the struggles that like. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm just slowly trying to get down to a weight where like I feel like lean, and then I'm basically just gonna like bulk back
Gradually.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just maybe if I have to like if I hit like so if I get down to the 170s, maybe I get back to the 190s. I'll probably do like a mini cut, and then
Yeah.
I'll basically just like stay around like 20 pounds to like where I should be competing. Um,
Then
it's
you could do a shorter prep as well.
yeah, like I
Like
think
an
that
8 week.
like I'm more like I'll be able to grow into the show more versus like my first show. Like I cut all that weight in like 13 weeks or 12 weeks, right? So like for me, I was doing like I was basically eating like I've told this countless times on the podcast, but like I was eating like pretty much like it was absolutely nuts, like green beans, spinach, like a little bit of chicken, like for like a crazy amount, like for way too long. I was doing like 2 hours of cardio. It was just absolutely nuts. It's because I
Yeah.
didn't, and like that wasn't my coach's fault. Like it was just my fault for like jumping too quickly into it. Like I should have did a show that was later. And
Yeah.
I think I lost like a lot of muscle.
If you have to drop like if you have to drop like I don't know, like 35, 40 pounds, you need like 20, 22 weeks, something like that. You know,
Yeah.
take it
Oh,
slow and then see where you're at when you're 16 weeks out, and then decide. You know.
yeah. And like learning the posing, learning everything, it was just kind of like all piled up. So it was just like it was an experience, and
But you were doing classic, right?
I did men's classic, yeah.
Nice, nice.
But so I did it 100% natural, and I did it in an untested. So like I competed against people who were not natural.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like a learning experience because I just wanted to do it to make sure that it was something I was interested in. So
Yeah.
I knew like going in there was probably a decent chance that I wasn't obviously going to place well, just because like people like I was in the novice division, so like they were first time competitors.
Yeah.
Uh, but like still like if anybody's using anything at all, like they're gonna have an advantage over me. And plus, like I don't feel like I was even ready. I don't think I really built like enough of a foundation.
All right.
So for me, it was something just like, okay, well, let's see whether or
Well,
not I like it.
what's your height?
5'11".
5'11". What's the weight cap? 5'11" in classic.
That's a good
I
question.
know, I know. For amateurs, it's like 10 pounds lighter than
I
pros.
think it was like I think it was like a
Has to be like 180 or something. I
yeah, I
don't
think
know.
it was like 175 or something, 175 or 180. So like I still had like room like 7 pounds or 8 pounds of muscle, but like
Yeah.
that as a natural is like 10 years of training or like five years of or whatever it is, right? Like I mean depending on like genetics or whatever, but like or like everything else that kind of comes into play, like you really have to optimize like everything and like train. So like for me it was more of just like yeah, put more work in, like just make sure that like this is something I'm interested in doing, like the whole process. So I'll probably so when I compete next time, I think the biggest thing that I regretted was like not being compared to the same people. So it would have been interesting to see like how I fared in like an all natural show.
Okay.
So that was kind of like my biggest thing because I put all the work in to be compared to people who were so like it would have been nice to see like okay like how do I compare to people who are natural that were in the novice division who were around the same, you know what I mean? So I think that
That
like
makes
that's my
sense.
next thing. Yeah, my next thing is to like figure out a natural show, and then do that one, and then just kind of reassess. That's kind of my idea.
Yeah.
So, but I 100% enjoyed it. Like I'll be competing next year for sure. So,
Awesome. Awesome.
so in terms of, since we're on the topic of competing, I guess for you, what interested you about competing and why did you choose to compete? I guess.
Um, Really, I found it really interesting, to be honest. Of course, I wanted to do classic as well, because I'm more into bodybuilding than men's physique, let's say, or fitness or things like
I was gonna
that.
say, like, judging by your pictures, like you have almost like the perfect classic. You know what I mean? Perfect classic look where it's
Thanks.
like,
Thanks.
well,
But
you have pretty
I
big
put
like you
a
have
lot
pretty
of work.
decent sized arms. Like you're pretty wide. Like you have like a smaller waist. I also seen some of the vacuum shots as well. Like those are impressive. So I think that like it should be interesting. Like I think classic would be like a really, really good fit for you.
Yeah, in the future, I wanna switch to classic in the future. But what got me into it was mostly, I don't know, when I started working out. I told you there was that click that made me get really interested in. I watched like the classics. What is it? Pumping Iron, Generation
Yeah.
Iron, stuff like that, and that attracted me to competing. But you know, like let's say I decided to pursue it. I think last year, January or February or something like that. Before that, it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna compete soon. I'm gonna compete soon. But when I decided to do it, was like January or February last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I seen some of your videos on your show there. So that was kind of like the same thing that I did. Basically, was like document my show, which was like that was another like complexity on it. It was like
Man,
doing the
it's,
show
it's,
for
it's
the first
difficult.
time.
It's difficult because you have, let's say, when you're 4 weeks out, you have no more motivation to do almost
No,
anything, almost
no,
anything. So
especially
it's
if, like especially if you were working, because like I at the time I was working in accounting. So like I
yeah,
recently made the transition from accounting to more of like fitness. Like I'm doing online coaching as well.
yeah,
Obviously, it's more of a part-time income for me. But like in terms of like making the adjustment, like when I was doing my contest prep, like I was working in the accounting industry, like public accounting. So like then hours were absolutely nuts around like January, March time because that was like tax season.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so it was absolutely insane. Like having to like do 2 hours of cardio a day. Like I was getting up in the morning doing fasted cardio, doing an hour in the morning before I went to work. I had to go into work early because we had to work extra hours, and then I'd get off at like an hour or like an hour and a half later than I should because of tax or whatever. So it ends up being like a full complete day of just like and like what it's like when you're 5 weeks out and you just feel like absolute death. Like it's
Yeah.
just like
It's not nice. It's not nice.
no.
That's true.
So in terms of your yeah, and I think that like adding the complexity of like tracking it as well, like and like filming it, it was like it was probably you could probably relate to that, but like just like trying to get up for the videos and trying to like you know what I mean, like be a little bit
Yeah,
like energetic and like trying to document as much of the process.
yeah. I feel like the editing was the most difficult part because like filming, maybe not that hard, because I mean, you don't have the energy, but you just have to talk about how you feel, what you eat, what you're gonna train, and then you film the training, and then that's it. But the
Yeah.
editing, like, man, I really didn't want to do it. But yeah, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. The end result was nice. So
So how does the filming work over there? Like I find like lately I've been like running into like the wrong people. Like I've been like in the gym trying to like film my workout and like I just get like some person who like is like, what are you doing filming? You know what I mean? So like
oh,
do you ever run into issues like filming in the gym?
it never happened to me actually. Never happened to me. But I don't think the prep was in the Netherlands. So maybe the people here in Romania are a bit more strict with that, but I don't think so. But I never ran into people that would say stop filming. I think maybe one time or something like that. They said,
Yeah.
oh, it's not allowed or something. But yeah, not really. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that like I definitely don't regret it because like being able to watch that and have that like the videos of like my prep, it's like something that like you can look back on.
Yeah.
And I think like it's a good process to be able to like to film and to kind of put into like a series. So I think that like I'll definitely do that again. But yeah, like it's brutal.
Yeah.
So in terms of your division, so just kind of want to finalize this competition stuff. So in terms of your division, do you plan to like given like your back injury, like, we're going to get into that
Yeah.
and current training, but like it's in terms of competing, like when do you figure you'll kind of
I'd say I gotta get back into top shape, size wise, because I dropped like what is it, like 8 kilos, 7, 8 kilos, which is like what is it, like 20 pounds almost. Well, maybe not that much actually, but it doesn't matter. I dropped quite a bit of weight, and I'd say muscle memory is gonna help me get it back, but it's still gonna take like 3 4 months, I would say, and I can only start. I already started training and eating a little bit less, a little bit more, let's say, strictly. But it's gonna take like 3 4 months to get back to shape, and then I will see. Then I'll see. My goal is in December until January, let's say 1st of January, to be back to where I was size wise.
and
Not
do you think
completely.
you'll stay within the classic division? Or,
Uh,
sorry,
depends.
the men's physique division, sorry?
Depends how the back injury is gonna heal itself. Because if I can train legs properly, I'll go into the classic. If not, then I'll stay the men's physique for a while until I can get back to training legs to 100%. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. So just one more question on the competing. So in terms of like your first show, what do you think is like the biggest thing that you learned or the biggest takeaway from doing the show? Something that like maybe you didn't expect, or something that like you know what I mean was either negative or positive, but like something
Yeah.
that you take away from doing your show.
I would say something I didn't expect would be the way I felt in the last 2 weeks. I didn't expect it to be that hard, to be honest.
Mhm.
And now that I think about it, because it's been a long time since I competed, now I feel like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But I mean, like the way I felt. But
Yeah.
now, but then it was like so hard to do anything, or even imagining doing something like getting up from the couch sometimes was like a hard thing to do. But I want to master that. Let's say I want to be able to get rid of that feeling. Maybe
Hmm.
I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but I have to do it
Feel
because
like
I don't.
you'll be able to like kind of give yourself a little bit like be ready or like be like ready early for the show so you're able to kind of like have a little
Well,
bit
I
more
was, I
car.
was, it was like I started my prep at 98 kilos and I finished at around 89. So that's
Oh,
like 20 pounds, I think. I don't know. I'm not
yeah.
sure. Something like that. So I was in decent conditioning before. So when I started prep, and I started 16 weeks out, and the first 4 weeks I was still gaining some muscle, and then I started cutting.
Hmm.
Uh, I think I maybe overdid it in the last 2 weeks because 2 weeks out, I feel like I looked
Better.
better than the show. Honestly, I was fuller, and the conditioning was just a little bit better in the show. But like it,
Yeah.
it I feel like if I would have had more size or fullness, let's say, then it
Hmm.
would be better. Because what happened is that I think I did it. I was too strict or too low on calories and too high on cardio in the last 2 weeks, and then I got like a stomach infection. I think it was 2 days out from the first show, so
Yeah, I see that in your video. Yeah.
I couldn't load properly because everything that I ate was coming out of me, straight out of me. So I think I lost like 2 kilos in a few days. In those 2 days, I was dehydrated. I didn't look like I wanted to look on stage. I was dry, but I was not full. I couldn't just get a pump when with the things backstage. There was no pump whatsoever.
But do you feel like this time your goal is to come in like maybe like not necessarily less conditioned, but like
But way
to
fuller.
the point where you're trying to get a little bit fuller look?
Way fuller. Because I know that I filmed the video 2 days out, no 3 days out, an arm day, and I looked at the video. I said, oh, I look like 10 pounds heavier in this video than on stage. It was crazy. It
Yeah.
was crazy. But yeah, it wasn't from the cut, I think, but maybe the fact that I cut too much,
Mhm.
the calories and the cardio, maybe it got my immunity a bit lower. So that's how I got the infection because I don't think I was eating the same thing every day. So I don't think it was the something I ate, or maybe it was, but normally it wouldn't affect me. So I think the immunity was an issue there. So yeah.
Yeah, for me it was just like I didn't expect like the constant cold feeling. Like like that was probably like I mean other than just being completely tired and not being able to do like a single thing like really other than just like work and go to the gym. And like my bedtime was like I'd be going to bed at like 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Like I'd be getting out if I got off work at 5, I'd go straight to the gym and I would train for an hour and do whatever I had to do, come home and eat and go to bed. And
Yeah.
like it was such a routine. But I think the coldness for me was like I was doing the prep in January. So I did my show in March. So like in Canada, the two coldest months are January and February.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't bad, but like I just remember like March felt like January and February, and
Yeah.
like the weather's supposed to
Yeah.
warm up. Like, but for me, man, like I was going to the gym with like two sweaters. Like I had like my tank top on, then like I had like a throw over sweater over that, and then I had like a sweater.
Same.
And I
I
just
know.
like could
I
not
was
get
I was I was drinking tea, and I never drink tea, just to keep me warm when I got home from the gym. And I never
yeah.
drink tea, but then I
Yeah.
started drinking tea all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think I did like I had to take like oh man my caffeine I don't even want to know what my caffeine intake was, but like I think it was definitely way too
Oh
much
yeah.
because I was
Oh yeah.
drinking like probably 3 or 4 coffees at work, and then like I had pre-workout like sometimes twice, like because
Yeah.
I would have to get up for my cardio session. Sometimes I'd have like half a scoop of pre-workout, and
Yeah.
then
Same.
yeah,
Exactly the same.
it
Yeah.
was just like through the roof. Like I don't even know. Like it'd be interesting to see like how much caffeine I was actually doing, because like right now my tolerance is quite low. Like I'll have like 1 cup of coffee normally and like I'm good.
Yeah.
But oh man, I was just like reaching for caffeine every chance I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just kind of want to move into before we actually move into the injury itself, I think I just kind of want to talk about your training. So in terms of like how you approach your training, I just kind of always like to talk to people about this because I feel like there's a lot of different views and perspectives, and not saying anyone is like more right than the other.
Yeah.
But just I've been so I think that's like the biggest thing that's changed for me over my years of just kind of getting educated and understanding some things is just like my understanding for training, and just like kind of how to approach it. So in terms of like how are you approaching your training? Like the first thing I want to talk about, which is like obviously probably the most Googled thing, was like the training split. So like
Yeah.
how do you set up your training split, and like how has it changed, and like why has it changed? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I started off obviously with the bro split, but what was it like chest, bicep, back, tricep, legs if you were doing legs, but I wasn't doing legs when I started
Yeah.
off. Then let's say shoulders and then repeat. And the weird thing that I was doing was I was doing, let's say, Monday chest, Tuesday back, and then Wednesday I was supposed to do shoulders. I
Mm.
just give an example here, and then I was skipping Wednesday because I had something to do with school or something. And then when I started back on Thursday, I would start over, which doesn't make sense. But I used to do that. But anyway, when I started getting more educated, I would say I moved into push pull legs. Yeah, push pull legs was the thing that I did the most, and that developed my body and my physique in the way it has developed. And then I realized, okay, I have some weak points, and it's sort of like a push pull legs, but a little bit changed up in order to have more frequency and more volume on the body parts that need more work. You know?
So in terms of like the weak point training, so I think that just to kind of give you an idea of what I did the exact same thing. Like I started on the bro split,
Yeah,
and I feel like that like slowly brought like weaknesses out, because like I mean obviously as you kind of like train, everyone's gonna have like weak points or weaknesses, things that like develop slower. But for me, it was like the bro split, and I probably did that for like I don't even know how long, at least like my first 2 or 3 years of training. And then like that was something that probably 2 years actually, but like I just noticed that like certain muscle groups for me just didn't come in nearly as much. But like, and then once I switched to like the push pull legs, the frequency thing, I find that like I ran into recovery issues. So like I'd
yeah,
always find that like my back, for example, and my legs, like the two largest muscle groups, basically, like they would get super sore, and then like I was like, okay, well, I think that like this is just probably like me adjusting to the split, and like doing like back, because I was always doing like I would probably do like a bro split, but I'd probably do like back probably twice a week.
yeah,
And I just did that like not knowingly, like I didn't really realize I was doing that, and I feel like that's probably the reason why like my back is probably like I would say my best like body part in terms of like how it developed,
yeah,
not the width but like the thickness.
yeah,
And I contribute that to like just miseducation, like not understanding, like not doing enough pull downs and pull ups. And I was every back day I'd just go in and I would just do rows. Like I would do T-bar
bro.
rows, I would do barbell rows, I would do like deadlifts, which would be like traps,
Yeah,
back, like you're basically your whole back, but like and your legs as well. But like so I would just like do that, and then I found myself like wondering why I didn't have any back width. And it's just because I never did enough like pull downs or like lat focused exercises. So basically what I'm trying to say is like in terms of like your push pull legs, like how do you manage that? Because I feel like my biggest struggle is like I want to be able to do the most that not my biggest struggle, but a lot of people's biggest struggle as well, is like they want to be able to do everything, but they have a hard time focusing on like the weak points. So kind of what I mean by that, it's like well, I don't want to just like, let's say your legs was like a strong point. I don't want to train my legs once a week. I still want to train them twice a week, but I also want to prioritize, like, let's say your back or something. So like, how do you kind of do that? Set it up in a way where you prioritize weak points
All right.
in like a push pull legs.
Yeah, in a push pull legs, you got to look at it this way. Push has chest, shoulders, and tricep. Pull has back, bicep, traps, let's say, and the legs, obviously, like quads, hamstrings, and calves. So you got to look at it this way. However, when you have a muscle group such as calves, you want to improve, you can do it. It depends on the muscle group, but if it's calves, in my case, I do it like 3 times, even 4 times a week. I just start my workout with that. It's
Yeah,
sort of like a warm up, I would say.
the Jay Cutler special.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day you'd go in and be like, all right, guys, today, I remember watching some of his videos, like, all right, guys, today we're going to train chest. And we're going to be starting off in the standing calf raise machine.
Yeah, exactly,
And I'm
exactly.
just like, he's like, I always do standing calf raises before my chest workouts because he's like, that's something but yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah,
Just funny how like you can like literally throw it in on every single day. You know what I mean? If you wanted.
it's like forearms, but I
Yeah.
never train forearms actually. But yeah, um, it's calves, and let's say if you want to improve your upper chest, you would basically have 2 push days, obviously, per week, and you would prioritize the upper chest movements in one
But
of the one of the
would you
days.
just do like, do you feel like you would just do upper chest movements on both the
No,
days?
no, no, no.
No.
I would do one day. I would do it more intense and more volume than the other day. So let's say you do one chest day or one push day, and you focus on chest mostly. So
Yeah.
you skip shoulders, and then you do triceps, and then you focus obviously in that workout on more upper chest, and then the next push day you still do some chest, but then instead of doing 4 exercises or 3, you do 1 or 2 for chest.
Mhm.
Then you do your shoulders properly, and then a bit of triceps at the end. So that's how I would do it. And with the back, I would do it this way. You have 2 pull days basically. You do one pull day focus on the width and one pull day focus on the thickness of your back.
That's exactly what
Basically,
I
if you're
said.
lacking if you're lacking in the width, you would do that day 4 exercises, or if you're lacking, and then in the thickness 2, and then the other way around if you're lacking in thickness, basically. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much how I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. See how I got it like set up right now is like I do push pull legs. I do it 6 days a week. And I just find that like for some reason, like I get certain things in my head where it's like you have to train legs hard in order to like, you know what I mean? People are like, yeah, like go in, give it all you got on leg day. So I always found myself running into recovery issues because like I train legs the hardest because I just get that in my head that I have to train them hard. So I end up doing just like way too many exercises for legs. And then like come the second day, so I started doing like I started off the week with legs. So I do like legs, push, pull, rest. So then I
Yeah.
have like that because I know that I'm going to get sore on that leg day because I don't know, for some reason I always try to like limit my volume, but I just end up going to the gym like the pre-workout hits and I just get super like pumped up and I just crush
Yeah.
legs.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Yeah.
So it's like for me, it's just like I always have a hard time being like, okay, well, cut back the exercise, cut back the volume. It's just something I need to work on myself. But yeah, so I have like the legs, the push, the pull, the rest, and then I repeat. Um, that's kind of what I'm doing now. And then in terms of like figuring out the weak points, I think I'm going to probably change it up because I don't think I really need 2 leg days. I feel like legs are probably like a decent body part for me. So I definitely need more lats. Like I definitely need more width. So for me, it's like I always have, and I also need bigger arms. I think that's another thing is like the biceps. My triceps compared to my biceps are just like not proportionate.
All
So I
right.
think that for me,
Yeah.
I do like, so my back workout is always like a back. I don't really focus on the thickness as much. I have like a row maybe on like each of the days,
Yeah.
whether or not it be like a T-bar row, whatever, like just a
Yeah.
row
Just
variation. Like a barbell row, T-bar row is probably like my go-tos. But yeah, for biceps, so I have like a width focused back day where I do like predominantly like pull down exercises, pull up exercises, pull over exercises.
yeah.
And then my other pull day is like a bicep focused. And I
Right.
started off with like probably like chin ups is kind of like my go to for that, or like a barbell curl.
Yeah.
Because I always find myself like you're indirectly hitting your biceps like with a lot of your rows, but like I use straps with like I just use straps with every single workout that I did, and I feel like that took a lot away. It was like doing the right thing because like it helped my back engagement.
Yeah.
But I think it took a lot of like early growth away from my biceps. So now it's like, so I found that like I'd do my back workout and then like I wouldn't have anything left to hit biceps. So biceps always just ended up getting tagged on.
Yeah.
So that was just a way for me to be like, okay, well, I'll start prioritizing. I'll start off with like a big compound movement with like chin ups where you are hitting your back, you are hitting your,
Yeah,
and then
right.
by the grip like this, you're putting more tension on your biceps.
That's true.
So
But
that's
you
kind
know,
of what I
what else? You know what else you could do? You said your legs are not a priority, right?
yeah,
You
I don't feel like my quads are like, yeah, they're not as much of a priority.
you could do one leg day per week. I know that you
And
want
plus like
to.
and plus I get like super sore anyways. So like
Yeah.
literally like it's yeah, like it's like a 4 or 5 day sometimes. Like if I
Yeah.
do like I
I think it's good
guarantee you
to hit it
if I do
once a week, I would say.
lunges, if I do like walking lunges, I know
Yeah.
for a fact before I do them, they're just gonna like squats are not so bad. Like I'll do squats, I'll do either like back squats, front squats, hack squats. They're just kind of like the rotational exercises that I like just like rotate.
Yeah.
But like also another one that kills me is like the Bulgarian split squats. Those
Yeah.
ones just friggin' mess me up. Like I do those like
The stretch kills
yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I just know that when I do them, like I'm like these exercises are like they're paying dividends. Like they're gonna be like they're the best choice. But like I know when I'm doing them, I'm like, oh god, I can just picture tomorrow. It's like I get that like inside the knee, like above the. It's not like in the knee, but it's like
Yeah.
right above like the
Yeah.
teardrop. Like that just completely like I can't even stand up. It just gets super tight.
But you know
Um,
what you could do? You could do just one leg day per week, and then on the other leg day you could just hit arms. You know,
yeah,
and that
just
would be good, yeah, to
prioritize the
prioritize.
arms.
Yeah, because then you
Yeah,
hit arms.
another.
What is it like? Twice a week basically. Yeah, because you have one tricep and then yeah.
Yeah, and then just do like less arms or something like during like my pull day, you
Exactly.
know. Just like spread it
Yeah.
out so like I'm prioritizing like an arm workout. And I feel like the biggest weakness for me was like my core. Just in general, like I think that's probably like what was my number one priority because I definitely didn't have the abs that I wanted. And I just like think that's probably due to like not training them properly. Or just not doing enough abs because I got down to like 168 pounds. And that's probably like the leanest, like obviously I've ever been, but like I just expected more abs. And like ab control was another issue for me. Just like switching from poses and like maintaining that like tight core, like without having the
Yeah,
extended.
I have the same issue. Yeah, with the
Yeah, so that was something I'm trying to work on is like during my exercises, like to try to keep the core engaged as much as I can, and to prioritize abs. Like I try to do like at least 3 different variations of abs. I do a crunch. It's a cable, probably a cable crunch,
yeah.
or some type of crunch variation, and then I do like a leg raise, like a hanging leg raise, or a lying leg raise, depending on how my back's feeling.
Yeah.
And then I do like a static hold, like a plank, or like an ab wheel,
That's all
something
you
that
need. That's all you
yeah
need. You just got to hit it 3 times a week, and then it's good, you know. But
yeah
that's the difficult part. That's the difficult part. Staying
yeah
consistent with ab work, because you know it's not like you get a pump like in the other muscle groups where you're like, okay, I want to do it. You just do it because you have to do it, and it sucks, but it's the only way to develop it properly. Consistency, like 3 times a week, and frequency. Yeah.
yeah. I just find it's hard because it's hard to connect with it for me. And I just feel like I don't know. It's always been like a tough one for me was abs, just like feeling it and like, I don't know. It's kind of like something I need to work on. So before we actually so in terms of like the vacuum pose, I've seen that you kind of,
Yeah.
so how did you like, I guess like when you're posing, like, do you have any like tips or tricks for like being able to do the vacuum or how to practice the vacuum? Because I just feel like it's like you see it in the poses, but I feel like it's also extremely beneficial for like being able to control your waist and like to really kind of like engage your abs. So like, do you have any like tips or tricks to like how you kind of?
I wouldn't say there's any tricks to it, or I should say, it's difficult for me to explain in words because it's
Yeah,
like you just know how to do it. I just exhale and then I don't know. I don't know how to explain. You just suck
that's what
in.
I'm saying because I've looked at like videos and stuff or whatever. I tried to do it and I just like got discouraged.
Oh, you how I learned to do it was you lay down in like how do you say that? Like on your knees and on your palms,
yeah.
and then you try to do it, and then it's much easier. And then once
So
you
on your hands
master
and
that,
knees,
and you
on
can
your hands.
stand up. It's a bit more difficult when you stand up, but then when you know how to do it at least, and you
Yeah,
exercise. The more you exercise it, the better it gets, basically. Also, you
yeah,
have to be in order for it to look good. Of course, it doesn't look good for me when I have a higher body fat percentage. So it's also easier when you're leaner to do it for some reason. I don't know why, but it's easier.
yeah. Probably because you have like maybe you have also like this, the food in your stomach thing, right? Like I find that
Probably.
like yeah, I've heard because I tried doing it like in the mornings and I always found that like I was way better at it in the mornings than
Yeah.
I was like if I was like trying to do it before I went to bed.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
would say
I
that's a good trick, or not trick, but a tip for people that want to learn how to do it. Just do it in the morning, the first thing every morning. Try to do it for like 2 3 minutes, and then with time you will get it. You get it, but it takes once you get it, it's there. So
yeah, and I think that like I definitely am better at it than I think. But to do that in the poses is like to make the transition from like the practicing, like to be able to be like, okay, like let's get on my hands and knees and do it. Okay, like I've got it. I figured out like this is how it feels or whatever. Like when you're doing it, and then like when I try to transition that into posing, it's like trying to like hit the pose is also on my mind. So
yeah,
like the focus, it's like people just don't understand like how hard it actually is to put everything together. Like I feel like people look at posing and they just it's people don't understand like how actual like how hard it is to like to flex everything to make sure you're and then when you're incorporating something like the vacuum and like a front double bicep, it's like you have to remember to flex your legs, you flex your legs, then you have to like do the vacuum, flex the biceps, like make sure your lats are so it's like it's a whole checklist, right? And I
yeah,
think that just
yeah,
making the transition from like doing the ab vacuum is one thing, but then bringing it into the poses and seeing which poses work well with it, right?
exactly, yeah.
So in terms of like the training, I just want to cover one more thing with the training. How do you feel about like instinctively training? Do you feel like it's something that like is beneficial, or do you think that like generally you're much better off following like a structured program to like a T?
I feel like you have to go 50-50 with that, honestly, because I love going to the gym and being like, okay, I'm gonna start out with an incline movement, let's say chest incline movement, and then like horizontal movement, and then a fly. So
Mhm.
you have a lot of room there to improvise and see how you feel on that day, and then try and do whatever you like most. Because on an incline press, you can do a machine, you can do a hammer strength, you can do a bench press, and on the flies you can do a pec deck, you can do dumbbell, you can do cables, obviously. So I like to do instinctive training as well, if you can call it that, in terms of this, like picking your exercise on that day and seeing what you like on that day and then doing it, basically. But I will also say, sometimes it's good depending on, I don't know, on the person. It's good to do
Yeah,
it just in terms of a split as well, maybe. I mean,
yeah,
have some sort of structure, but at the
yeah,
same time, yeah, if you want to do that, then do that. If you're not a competitor, let's say, just train instinctively because then you like it more. If you want
yeah.
to,
I
if
think
you have a
that's
hard time
that's
staying
totally.
consistent, doing it instinctively would help you to stay more consistent. So, yeah.
See a couple things that like some of my thoughts on that is so there's a couple things I want to mention on that. So I really like instinctively training. I think that like I'm not saying that because I use the excuse that I'm instinctively training to skip squats or to skip
Yeah.
deadlifts or to
Yeah.
skip like pull-ups or something. You go into the gym and you're like, ah shit, like I don't feel like doing deadlifts today. Like I'm just gonna instinctively train. Like I feel like that's where a lot of people kind of like go to when they think of instinctively training.
Yeah.
But I think that's the wrong approach. I think so. How I kind of do it is like, so I think you bring up a good point with like switching up the exercises, like in terms of like if you go to the gym, like the gym can be busy sometimes, and to get the fly machine. So like if I were to go in and like program a full workout, like a chest workout, and I've got like cable flies in there, like the gym's got like one cable machine. And
Yeah.
if there
It's
happens
never
to be like
gonna
one
happen.
person on it, or like if it happens to be broke, like I went there the other day and it was broke. Um, you know what I mean? And I was just like, okay, so if
Yeah.
I had that in my training, like it would completely screw me up. Like if I didn't kind of like think on the fly. And obviously like everybody knows you can do different variations, but I just think that like if we're talking about sticking to a 100% structured program, then no, you've got to do cable flies. Like, you know what I mean? So you can't substitute that out with like an incline, with a dumbbell fly or a pec deck. So that's kind of like the structured program approach where it's like some people might have a hard time with that. And me personally, I do, because like I'm just kind of like, I like it by the book, but I also like that variety. So I found that every time I kind of like tried to do a 100% like program where it was like, this is exactly what I'm doing for like 16 weeks. I just found that I ran into those issues where I'm like, ah, shit, somebody's on this machine, or I did it and it doesn't feel the same today. Like a good example of that is like leg press. Like sometimes when I go in and I do leg press, like I just feel it in my knees. But there's other days where I go in and do leg press and it's like, it's a wonderful exercise. It's like, holy shit, like this, I'm getting like a decent pump today. Like I don't feel it in my knees. So do you have any like thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, basically, yeah, I have the same. I think exactly the same. Like you gotta have a guideline in terms of a workout. Like hard, when you do it, like I said, at the chest workout, you can replace exercises. So I never had a structured program, and if I ever tried to do it, the first day it's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's already gone the first day because I'm gonna go to the gym and be like, okay, I don't want to do this.
So
I'd
in
rather
terms of
do
like
this,
drafting your workout, do you just like before you go to the gym that day or the night before, do you just say, okay, it's a push workout, and then do you just kind of like write it down just right quickly in your phone, like some of the exercises you think you're gonna do, or some of the ones that you want to
Yeah,
do?
yeah, I
Yeah,
do that. I do that, but I don't stick to it most of the time. So
yeah,
because you get to the gym and you find something like an exercise or something, and you're
yeah,
like, oh, I like this, and you wanna enjoy the workout, so you
yeah,
do like maybe two extra sets, and then you take out of the set that you do for the next exercise.
yeah.
So it depends really on the workout and on the day and on the mood and everything. So instinctive training is a big thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as well. Like that's basically how I train as well. Like I'll literally just put it in my phone and like I'll just kind of have a general idea.
Yeah.
I think that like so the biggest struggle here is progressively overloading, and I feel like that's the issue that you run into. It's not an issue if you do your due diligence or whatever, and you make sure that you are. And I think that a lot of people just automatically assume that like when you're progressively overloading, like you have to add weight. And I don't like that's obviously not the case. Like you can do the exercise a little bit more intense. You can reduce your rest times. You can add more sets, like you said. Like you add sets onto certain exercise and take them away from it. Like that's a way to progressively overload because
Of
you're
course.
adding more volume on a specific movement, right? Or you're adding more reps, or like you're changing the rep range or whatever it is. But I guess like in terms of like tracking your workouts and like making sure that you're progressively overloading in some way, whether or not like you're trying to improve from session to session, how do you manage that with, because I'm in the same boat and that's something I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know if you maybe you are as well, but for me it's like I tried like the pen and paper. I've tried going to the gym and being like sets, reps, weight, last week, this week, blah blah blah, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of manage, how do you kind of deal with like instinctively training while making sure that you do have some progressive overload in there?
Well, one way I do it, I write it down. Obviously, I put it down in my phone or something, in terms of an exercise. But at the same time, I hit this kind of a cycle, let's say, of 4 weeks when I really enjoy incline bench press. So then I progress in that, and then one day I'm like, okay, I don't like it anymore, or my shoulder is bothering me or something. And I replace it with
Yeah,
something, and then I do progressive overload in that thing. So
yeah,
constantly changing it up, but at the same time changing it up, but also have it in for like 4 weeks, so you can
Yeah.
progress at it. Because after 4, maybe 6 weeks, you're not going to progress that much anymore. So
Yeah.
you're better off switching it with some other exercise and then progressing into that one.
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with progressive overload in yeah, in instinctive training.
Yeah, that's kind of how I do it is like I pick like certain exercises that like I want to be like 100% like that I have to do or whatever. So like and then I give myself flexibility. So I do like so like let's say for chest like if it was an upper chest focused workout like I'll try to keep like an incline bench press in there for the most part. So like
Yeah,
I'll try like I really like the dumbbell bench press over like the dumbbell incline over the barbell.
yeah,
So like let's say I was going to do something like that, I would keep that in there, and that's like an absolute must exercise. Like I have to go in there and I have to do that. I have to progress in that. But then
yeah.
like then the other exercises like if I go in there and I put on my thing that I'm going to do pec deck flies and I go and the pec deck machine's taken, well maybe I'll do some dumbbell flies. So I give myself like some flexibility where it's like instinctively training or like with sets and reps. Like if I go in there and I'm doing like a certain exercise and it just feels way better today, I'll add a set on.
Exactly.
Or like vary the rep ranges if I'm feeling like a little bit strong today, or like I go in there and like I feel like I can add like a little bit more weight to it. Then that's kind of like how I deal with it. Like I just kind of do it on the fly, but I always try to make sure that like I have core exercises that I'm like trying to progress in. So like I won't track every single exercise. Like if I'm doing like a cable fly, like I don't really care if I've got like 30, 40, 50, like whatever the machine, you know what I mean? Like for me, it's just going by feeling, like making sure like that's another thing is the mind muscle connection is absolutely huge for me.
There's no need for progressive overload in accessory movements, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Not
Yeah.
really,
I agree. Yeah.
you know.
I think it's just about like the mind muscle connection, like making sure like some days like I feel it more, some days I'm able to connect with it more. I also do like a lot of like unilateral movements.
Yeah.
So the one that I really like right now is pec deck flies, but you do them single.
All right.
Uh, arm. The reason why I like it is because so if you're doing a pec deck fly and you're doing like both arms, they're going to come right here, right? But if you're doing like a single arm pec deck fly,
You
some
can go
machines give
further.
you the flexibility to go further. So I'm actually able to go over here with it.
Yeah.
So I'm getting that extra stretch in my chest.
Yeah.
And it's like a pretty awesome contraction. So that's something that like I've been starting to do a lot more is just to do like single arm stuff. And I just found that like it's been helping me like connect with the muscle and also like just feel like a better overall like just overall connection to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So in terms of like the mind muscle connection for you, is that something you train for, or
Yeah.
do you just
100%. 100%. I'll never do an exercise that I don't feel 100% the muscle that I want to feel.
yeah
So I stopped doing deadlifts because I don't know. Um, I just didn't feel much to it, and I have a tendency that my traps take over when I'm working out my back. So I just stopped it overall because my traps I was still overpowering my back. So it's not a look that I'm going for basically. So
yeah
I had to stop deadlifting. I had to stop doing shrugs. I never do shrugs anymore. So my muscle connection is a big thing. So if I find that in one period it feels better to do dumbbells, I'll do dumbbells, and then I'll switch to barbell to see how that feels again. And
Mhm.
then if that feels good, I will change it up. But if I don't feel the muscles that I'm targeting, then I'm not going to do that exercise basically.
Yeah, and
The
I think
same
that
with
kind of
squats. The same
that
with
ties back
squats. I
in.
never do squats. So
Yeah, that ties back into like the instinctively training, right? Because
yeah,
like if you're going in and you're feeling like a movement and it's not feeling great, like you feel it in your knee or you feel it in like I feel like that's where sometimes injuries happen. It's like your ability just to be like, okay, well, I still have to do this exercise even though I'm feeling it in my knee. But that's where like you've got to like come in and be like, okay, well, maybe let's not do this exercise. I'm not feeling it like in my muscle. Like
yeah,
today is the off day, so let's just do something else. So I think
yeah,
that like having that like approach and listening to your body when you're going in and like I feel like a lot of people might get I'm not saying that like they could, but like I feel like a lot of people could get injured if they're just like sticking to a program 100%. And like you go in and you do squats and your knees are bothering you that day or something doesn't feel right or you're just so like I think that like pushing it when you necessarily might not be in the position to push it.
it's not.
Um,
You know.
no, it's and I mean getting injured is obviously going to be another setback.
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to have like a fun question here. So in terms of like picking an exercise, I just kind of want to go through some of the major muscle groups. So if you only had to pick one exercise to do for that muscle group, I guess which exercise would you do? And I guess that's based on like your current physique. So I guess like not based on like as a beginner or something, like based on like where you are right now. So you can go and then I'll go. So we'll start off with chest. If you had to do one chest exercise,
incline dumbbell press.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. You know, another one that I liked though too that I started doing was hex press.
Hex press.
So instead of doing the dumbbells like this, you take the dumbbells like this, you push them together.
Okay.
You
Oh
press.
yeah, I do that. I do that.
It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more triceps because you're bringing your. But like I find that if you do like a dumbbell hex press, you feel it like.
Press, yeah.
Yeah, right there. It's like an awesome feeling. But yeah, I would go with the same thing as a dumbbell, and I just like the range of motion. It's much easier. Just on like the barbell for me.
Just feels good. I don't know. Just feels really good.
Yeah. So then it's triceps.
Triceps. That's tricky. That's tricky. I don't know. I'm thinking like a push down, like a V bar push down or a skull crush, but I don't. Yeah, V bar push down.
For me, it probably
you can move around and then you can hit all the heads of the tricep, you know, with the V push down. So yeah, probably that.
V bar push down. For me, it'd probably be the lying dumbbell tricep skull crusher or whatever it is. So you're basically just doing a skull crusher, but you do it with the dumbbells.
Yeah.
Like a lion one. I find that one's really good, and I find that like it takes the skull crusher variation out because like the whole idea of the skull crusher is to go like if you're doing a skull crusher, it's going towards your skull. If you're doing a French press, it's going like behind your back. So it's almost like it gives me that range of motion to be able to do, and I just find that like one arm, like during it, if I'm using the same weight, one arm will come up and the other arm. So like it's working on my like imbalances as well. Exactly. I just really like dumbbells. I just like really prioritize dumbbells, especially with like something like that. I'm able to connect with it a lot more. And then the bar is like uneven. You know what I mean? Like I got them both going.
True. You got yeah. That's true.
I really like that variation. So shoulders, taking into consideration, like it could be a rear delt exercise. It could be just a side lateral. It could be anything.
Side lateral dumbbell for sure.
Dumbbell side laterals.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because basically you're hitting your front delt when you're doing chest. You're hitting your rear delt when you're doing back. So basically, you're never hitting the lateral head of the shoulder. So yeah. Also, I really enjoy the exercise. So
yeah. I would say lying face pulls.
Lying face pulls.
Or like hit the rear delts. So like you know how you do like a face pull or whatever. You go.
Yeah.
Like, so I when I started doing the face pulls, I would take like this grip. So my hands would be like this. I actually started turning them out like this. So the back of the rope face pulls, like the back of the rope's like this, and I'm pulling. Yeah. It's almost like I'm doing like a rear double bicep.
Yeah.
But I find that like doing it, so you're what you do is you set the cable machine up high. You have the rope on it as if you were doing like a tricep extension. Yeah. But you lie on your back, and you take the rope. Yeah, I just find that like being like my lower back's like pretty messed up. Well, not messed up, but like I just find that sometimes like I feel it in my lower back, like when I'm doing like pull exercises. So I find that and the floor is like obviously I'm on my back, so like my hands just go right to the floor. So it's like the perfect range of motion for like having it. So that would probably be my one. Would be like the lying face pull.
All right.
I just really, definitely give it a try. I actually did something on Instagram, I think, with it, but yeah, I just like the face pulls in general are good, like but I just really like the rear delts for some reason. Like obviously like side delts are like very important, but for me rear delts, I just love doing face pulls.
Yeah.
So
I like face pulls too. Yeah. But
yeah, and then just like that,
not as much as the other.
That very specific variation. Yeah, I would say that. So in terms of back,
I would say I would have said rows, but I'm not sure if I can do them anymore, like ever. But now I would say I don't really know, to be honest. Maybe cable rows, because you can move it around. Like if you use like a long extension, you can do reverse, you can do overhand. You can do neutral as well. So probably go for a cable row or a pull down. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's what I'm saying. It's tough. That's why I kind of like this question because it's like it's thought provoking,
Yeah,
right?
but no,
Um,
I think the rowing would be better. Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
I really like rowing. I see. I did a lot of. That's my problem. I used to like rowing so much that I used to do it all the time.
Yeah,
Like I keep my rows, barbell rows all the time, just because like that's just what I liked. I'd go in at that point. I was just training because I enjoyed it. But then obviously like it brought out weak points. So I was like, oh, I need to focus on my lats more. I would probably say for me, I really like. I can't pick between them. Lately I've been really liking the pullover, like the rope pullover variation, where you have the rope and you do like the
yeah,
standing rope.
yeah. That's a good one.
That's a
good.
really good one because I feel like I'm able to get like an awesome stretch at the top. I feel like it all like the tie-in or whatever. I feel it all up there,
Yeah,
and I just like the feeling of it. It just feels awesome when you get in that groove where you're like sometimes I feel it in my triceps because but like other times where I get in that nice little groove where I find that one's really good. Um, that's probably my favorite now. If I had to pick if I had to pick another one, I'd probably say like a high cable pull down or like row. So like we have a machine where it's like your chest supported, and then they have the high row, and you just do like high cable rows.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like a machine row, high machine row, I would
yeah.
say.
No, I know what you're talking about. So which one would you choose then? The pullover?
Uh I would say every day of the week I'd probably do the high pull high row. The
Yeah,
second one that I mentioned.
because then you get everything in. So
Yeah, I'd say if I had to pick one, it'd probably be like a high row. And,
yeah,
and I like to feed it too because I find like sometimes like T-bar rows, barbell rows will like activate my lower back, and then, like I just feel like that would be tough. Like I'm always up in the air with it. It's one of those ones that like I mentioned with the instinctively training. I'll go in, and I'll see how it feels. Um, but yeah, I would say like the high row for sure. Just because your chest supported, there's no lower back. I'm able to feel like everywhere. It's like my lats, my rhomboids, just like basically everything, like my whole like, and I'm able to do it single armed as well. So like if I go in there and like I'm not feeling doing it like both arms at a time, I'm able to really isolate them. So I think
yeah,
that kind of goes back to what I mentioned with like my training. Like I'm throwing in a lot more single arm stuff, so I do like one arm at a time.
yeah.
I like that. I like the machines because of that, because it gives you the flexibility to do like whereas like with a pullover, you can't really do that. You kind of have to be like dumbbell or like a. It's very hard to do like a unilateral. I don't even know how you could do that. But I just like the being able to like do one side and then do the other. Yeah, so that'd probably be my back one.
All right, fair enough,
In
fair
terms
enough.
in terms of biceps,
Biceps, preacher curl, 100%.
preacher curl.
Preacher curl, yeah,
Yeah.
has to be that.
Uh,
Has to be. Because I don't know when you're doing standing curls like dumbbell, barbell, I get a lot of forearm as well, and I feel like in these sort of small muscle groups, like biceps and triceps. First of all, you don't want to risk injury, and second of all, as much you just need mind muscle connection. I don't think you need that much weight to grow them or to
yeah.
stimulate. So I'd say
I,
preacher curl. It can be preacher curl with a cable, preacher curl with a like a regular bench. You know?
have you ever felt like the preacher curls in like your delts, like your front delt?
No,
Because
no.
I find sometimes when I'm doing them, like I get a lot of like up
Well,
up.
you gotta set the chair at the lowest, and then all the weight has to go in your armpit,
Okay.
and then you're not gonna feel that anymore.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm doing them, I'm like I get like a front delt pump, like a
Yeah,
little bit because like my
I
arms are
can
like
see
this,
that. I can
and I'm
see how
almost
you
like
get that. Yeah,
pulling up, and then like I get like I'm feeling
yeah,
it right here, but like it's hit or miss with them as well for me. But
yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I actually watched a video on it the other day, and I was trying to figure out like what I was doing, like wrong, not necessarily wrong, but how I could fix it. And like someone mentioned, like to lean into it, like
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
like leaning
Like
back like this.
put all your weight on your armpits. That's what I
Yeah,
do at least, and then it goes all the tension goes in your bicep basically.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's all.
I really like that. That's a good one, preacher girl. Um, I'd probably do like a dumbbell curl, but like a non-alternating one.
Yeah.
And not what do you call it? Rotating. So like
Yeah.
non-alternating. So like palms facing up at all
So
times.
basically like a barbell curl, but you use dumbbells instead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
just found like that the twisting action. It was messing with like my forearm. Like I was feeling like I was getting a little bit of tendonitis.
all right.
I don't know if that was self-diagnosed. I just I just
Yeah.
like made that up in my head. I was like, for some reason I'm feeling this like it'd be like a shooting pain going up like my forearm right here and would
Yeah.
go to like anyways. So I was just like I don't like that. So I was like I tried out the variation of just like keeping my arms like this and literally just
Yeah.
curls.
No, I do that as well. I don't
Yeah.
do it just to stick my arm, my forearm. Sorry, and it feels much better because it's only on the bicep, the tension. If I want to do hit the forearm, I just do hammer curls and that's it. So
And I even like it just to kind of on your point, I even like doing that as a preacher curl as well, like dumbbell preacher curl. So like you just take the dumbbells and like the ends of them, you put them together and you do over the bench. I find that that's a decent one as well.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say probably like the non-alternating dumbbell curl. So abs.
Abs. Man, I used to love leg raises, like hanging leg raises, but I'm not sure if I'm able to do them anymore, or not able, I should say, like more like allowed to do them. Like it might aggravate the back. So I would say probably like what you were doing, like cable crunches. That's a pretty good one because you get the mind muscle connection. It's a good mind muscle connection. And the
Yeah,
planks are also good, but I feel like the cable crunches, that's what I would stick to.
planks are brutal. Like
Yeah,
they're like an awesome exercise, but like they're one of the ones where it's
they
like
suck, man. They really suck, honestly.
and to progress on them is even worse because you're like, oh well, I gotta like do more sets or like I gotta like increase the time. Like I started off with like 45 seconds and I would
Yeah,
do like three sets of 45 seconds, then I would do like three sets of a minute, and then I was like, well, this is getting ridiculous because like now I'm going three sets of a minute and a half, which is
you're
like
just wasting time, yeah.
5 minutes. Yeah, and then I was like, so then I transitioned to like the long lever plank where it's like you take your arms more out in front of you
Yeah,
versus anyways, that was harder. But so anyways, it was just one of those ones where it was like, oh god, like I just got better and better at it where it became like a nuisance to have to like plank for that long. So and then you can do those crazy things you see people doing, like put a weight on my back, you know what I mean? Put a plate on my back and
yeah. I
like
used to do that. I used to do that with my friends when we started out. Like I
yeah,
said, they were pushing me to go to the gym, and they were doing a lot of ab work. You know, they were doing all these circuits. Like I don't know, I think it was like 7 exercises back to back, like
yeah.
nonstop. And then at the end was a plank. So we would all go into a plank and then put like 4 plates on the guy's back, and then just come on, man, you can do it. Then do drop sets and stuff. You know, like take one plate at a
Take a
time.
plate off, take a plate off as you go kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it works, but it's not necessary, you know. I mean,
No.
I don't see any pro bodybuilders do any of that stuff. So, I mean, I don't think it's something that you should be doing, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe stick to 2 exercises like leg raises and crunches, and that's it, really.
Yeah. I would say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The cable crunch. So just two more. So quads.
Quads, I would go for probably leg press. Probably leg press. Yeah. Leg
Leg
press
press.
or yeah, leg press, yeah, 100% leg press. Because then you get the mind muscle connection, but also like a mass builder, and yeah,
I
yeah,
would
like
say probably dumbbell Bulgarian split squats
yeah, that's a good one too. That's a good
because
one
I
too.
find that
I,
like
I feel
it.
my hamstrings more when I do that one.
Oh really?
More in my hamstrings than my glutes, honestly.
If you lean, I found that like if you lean forward a little bit, like you're gonna do more hamstrings, more glutes.
Yeah,
But I find that like keeping an upright posture, and then just like maybe lowering
yeah.
like that
I
raised.
think my mobility, flexibility, I should say, maybe in the hamstrings, is really bad. So maybe that's why. Because whenever I lean to get something from the floor, or I do like a squat, most of the
Yeah,
tension is in my hamstrings anyway. So I think
yeah.
it's the mobility that yeah.
Yeah, and that'd probably be my go-to because you can, just like you mentioned a good point as well. Like you can overload it. So like the leg press gives you the flexibility to be able to overload. Plus you're able to kind of like isolate it as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a good. And I think that's like kind of similar with the Bulgarian split squats. Like if you're doing the Bulgarian split squats, you can start off with body weight, or if you had to, and then you could do and then you could start adding dumbbells to it.
Yeah.
I just find that like it's really. I found that one, as brutal as it is, I find that like that one's probably been my favorite. And I actually how I stumbled on it was like home training. So like I was like what the hell am I going to do for legs at home, right? And I was just thinking to myself, like obviously I can't squat, and like you're not getting the same type of like you're not like squats are just hard to replace. Like if you're trying to build like thick legs and like you're trying to like you need to like overload them quite a bit. Like if you don't have squats or you don't have a leg press or you don't have something like that, like I found that like home training was very limited for that. So I was like, well, if I do walking lunges, it's like it's cardio mixed with like
Yeah.
it was very
I
hard to
think that's
do.
the best replacement if you do it at home,
Yeah.
honestly.
So that's what I was doing. I was doing the dumbbell. So I basically just put my foot up on a piece of furniture, and I had a couple pairs of dumbbells. So I would just that's what I did. And then like ever since I made it back to the gym, I haven't really replaced it. I do front squats every now and then. I would say front squats. If I had to pick a second one, I would say front squats.
Yeah.
Just for a mass builder.
Yeah.
So last one, hamstrings.
I'll go for leg curls, like lying leg curls. Those are pretty nice.
Yeah.
But I think like stiff-legged deadlifts are also quite nice. And then you can overload them a bit more. So I would probably go for that. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do those anymore, like properly, or at least overload them as much. So I probably stick to lying leg curls.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd probably say seated leg curls. I just like having that.
It's good as well.
Yeah.
So
I like having that like back support. I find that I'm able to kind of like I didn't when I first started doing them, I didn't really like them.
yeah.
But as I like started getting used to them, I was like I actually do like these over the lying leg curls. I just found that I was able to get like I don't know, the contraction was for me was just a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I mean like that's another thing that varies. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say an isolation exercise is seated leg. I absolutely hate RDLs. As much as like they're great for you and like to have like a hip hinge movement with like a flexion movement, like a knee, like they're like the two pairings like I feel like you need, but I just for enjoyment, I think I'd probably for some reason every time I'm going in, I'm doing hamstrings. It's always the one that like I write down. I'm always like, okay, let's do some seated hamstring curls. You could do like drop sets. You could do like static holds.
Traction is better.
Yeah.
Traction is better, yeah, for sure.
I just for some reason I just feel it better. Yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun. It's the first time that I did that, asked somebody about exercises. Yeah, I just thought it'd be kind of different, kind of because sometimes people have like these not weird answers, but I feel like you might get a couple people who say different things, and you're like, oh, I never even thought of that, right? So, so I just kind of want to move now into like your injury, in terms of like your back. So I don't really understand like how it all started. Obviously, like it'd be kind of good for you just to kind of like briefly explain.
Yeah.
But so I guess like I read your post or whatever from when you said so like January, but like did you notice like was there anything that like before then where you
Sure, for sure.
Could you kind of like explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I went to the doctor, and the doctor's not even now. I don't have a clear answer as to what happened. I never felt something in my back, something popping or something, whatever. So I tend to have this theory that it happened when I fell. I was just walking on the street, like was it last year, January? So a year and a half ago, I think. Yeah, that's something like that. I fell on ice. It was really icy. So I fell, and I fell on my knee, and I tore one of my ligaments in the knee. And then I went to the doctor. I got an MRI on the knee, and then I found out it was torn. And then he told me, yeah, you should get surgery. But I said maybe not this time or whatever. And then it went away basically, within like 2 months. And I was wearing a brace on my knee and stuff. And I started training again. And then I was doing like these back movements that I used to do, like a barbell row and stuff, like bent over rows. And then I felt this weird pain and a sharp pain, but it wasn't much, you know, it wasn't bad, but it was definitely not muscle pain because you can tell.
Yeah, oh
So
yeah.
that's when it started. So my theory is that when I fell, something moved, like the disc moved or ruptured at that point, and then basically with time overloading my back and not addressing the issue and not working on my core and the mobility and flexibility and stuff like that, because with that you can avoid the disc from getting worse.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. I mean, I stopped doing these bent over rows, and then I mean eventually I started doing them again, and there was no more pain. So it was like for a month I felt that pain, and then went
So you
away.
didn't really you didn't really think that much of it
No,
after it kind of.
I was like, okay, it's just because I was away from the gym for a long time. But again, this is just a theory, so I'm not sure if that is the
Yeah.
reason why my back got injured. And then time went by. I started my prep in September, mid-September. I got the pain was back, but it was much worse, much worse. I could barely get up from bed. Um, it was difficult to do some exercises, and I started doing some stretches, like I saw on the internet to do some stretches and stuff for lower back pain and whatever. And then I started doing them, and then it went away. But for 2 weeks, it was pretty bad. Like I couldn't train legs for 2 weeks. I was doing like only seated exercises and stuff. Um, and basically, again, it just went away. So again, I was like, yeah, all right, then let's move on. Let's not think about it anymore. And then I finished prep. I done my competitions, and then I started binge eating, obviously, because that's what most people do after competitions. And then I gained quite a bit of weight. Was not as much as I was expecting, because people say, oh, you're gonna gain a lot and stuff. But I gained in like 2 months after the competition. I gained I'd say like 20 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that contributed to the thing, because it's just more tension on the disc.
More weight.
That's what
Yeah.
just told me anyway, because that might be the reason as well. Because the disc might have been bad, but I would probably not have gotten to this stage if I wouldn't have gained that weight. And then I don't know, 3rd of January or something, it started. It was really bad. Like, and then it didn't stop anymore. It was like really bad. I couldn't get up from the bed. I couldn't stand. I couldn't sit properly. Like I couldn't sit on the chair properly. It was like shooting pain down my leg. So again, I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, it's gonna
Yeah.
go away. I went to the doctor, obviously, and he said, yeah, it's just some sciatica. Just take these pills and whatever. I took those pills. It didn't really go away, but at the same time, I could still train. So I continued. I went to the gym and stuff. What was it, like 2 months? 2 months until I got an MRI, because I was like, okay, it's getting worse. So I should just. It wasn't getting worse, actually. I should say, like, it
It
was
just it
just
just wasn't it just wasn't getting any
it's
better.
just the same, and like for 2 months,
Yeah.
like you have to do something about it if you can't live life properly, you know. And then
Yeah.
I got an MRI, and then I found out whatever, and then I started doing some conservative treatment, so non-surgical treatment for like 2 months and stuff, and it didn't work. It just got worse. And I got an MRI again in May, and it got even bigger, the hernia. So I decided, yeah, let's just get it over with, get the surgery, get it done. June 1st, I got the surgery,
Mhm.
and I got out of the hospital like 2 days later. It's not like a crazy surgery or something. It's
Yeah.
like the scar is like this big. Like,
That's not bad. That's not bad then.
yeah.
At least yeah, we're able to. Yeah, I'm the same way when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm the biggest procrastinator. Like when it comes to like any type of, and it's like the worst. It's one of the worst things to procrastinate, right? But I'm like I would do
It's,
the
it's,
exact.
it's not
I
it's
would
not
do the exact same
procrastinating
thing.
really. It's not really procrastinating actually. It's most people do that because I mean, I was also in the Netherlands, and then I didn't have I didn't have insurance as well, and then
Yeah.
if you go to the doctor it would cost you like, I don't know, like
Expensive.
500 euros for like a checkup, you know. And also apparently you cannot get an MRI there, like
Oh
private,
really?
like you cannot go to the clinic and then get an MRI. You
Yeah.
have first of all, you need an insurance, obviously. I think I had an insurance anyway, but then I didn't have like a, what do you call it? Like a doctor assigned to you. What do you call that?
Yeah, like you need to get like yeah. See, I'm in Canada, so for me, it's like our healthcare is like basically like oh, it's like free, right? So we pay
It's the
direct.
best. I think Canada has the best healthcare, right?
Yeah, like but like you also like it's hard to get a doctor. So like and any doctor could do the work. You can recommend a doctor. So if like you knew like a surgeon,
Yeah.
you could go in and like recommend someone, but that's not necessarily who's gonna
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like everyone is assigned to a general.
like
What do you call
a
it?
family doctor.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So in order to do that, I had to wait for like 2 months. So
Yeah. See,
and then
I don't
and
even have a family doctor myself.
and then you go to the doctor, and then he tells you, okay, go get an MRI, and writes it down on a paper and stuff. And sometimes they don't even let you do it, even if you have to pay for it.
Mhm.
And you cannot get an MRI without all of that. So I had to come back to Romania to get it, and then I got it. But I would have gotten it a bit sooner, or at least go to the doctor a bit sooner if it would have been accessible, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of like just to kind of like kind of put it in perspective. So how long did you go without training at all?
Well, what was it? I stopped training altogether in April, I think. Um, so was that, like 4 months almost? Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
then
four-
that was around the time of like COVID as well, right?
Yeah.
So that was I guess it wouldn't say it's good timing, but like at least it was like the
It
gym,
was great timing.
yeah, like the
It
gyms were
was
like at
great.
least the gyms were closed. Like there wasn't any. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing you would have been doing unless you knew somebody, but like to get into a gym, but like the only thing you would have been doing anyway was home workouts. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So I feel like it was probably like a good timing thing for you because now
Yeah,
you're
but
able to.
psychologically, not that good.
So
As
yeah, that's kind of what I
I,
wanted. So how was that like on your mindset? Like, did you obviously it was extremely demotivating, but like how I guess like how did you deal with it? Because like I feel like a lot of people might have not dealt with it maybe the way that you have. They may have not even got back into training or working. Like it would have been something that like a lot could have like screwed up a lot of people.
yeah.
So I guess like how did you maintain like that mindset of like, okay, well, I'm going to get the surgery done. Then when like as soon as I feel comfortable, I'm going to be able to get back into training. I guess like what was your mindset during like the whole process of it?
Well, once I realized, yeah, I mean, like even a month before surgery, I already knew I wanted to get surgery, but I had so many people around me that were telling me it's not that good to get a surgery. Maybe it's not a good decision. Try to do it without surgery and stuff. But I already tried, like it's getting worse. I have to do something about it.
Mhm.
And some doctors were telling me don't do it. Some doctors tell me do it and stuff. So I was like, I already knew in the back of my mind, yeah, I'm gonna go for it
So
because it
you made the
it's
decision for yourself that like
yeah, exactly.
you were
But
yeah because I mean
delayed
I bet you that would have
pain.
been like it would have been a pain, right? Like I know that like nagging pain, like I deal with some back pain myself.
Yeah,
And I just like sitting, like I do a lot of sitting.
yeah,
Um, and it just like that takes a toll on me because like my back is just completely messed up for days sometimes, depending on like which way I'm sitting or like.
yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely like agree that like it gets to a point where like there's a
No, I
pain.
I
Yeah,
couldn't stand for more than 20 seconds. I couldn't sit on a chair. I had to lay down like all the time. I had to stay in bed. I
yeah,
couldn't, like at the beginning of COVID or something, we could still go to the supermarket and stuff. And then I
yeah.
tried, I was doing that, and I was rushing through it because I knew that
Your
in
back pain was gonna.
five
Yeah,
5 minutes into shopping, I would not be able to walk anymore and sweat and not be able to think about shopping and only thinking about where can I lay down. At one point, I think I just laid on the floor as well. I couldn't take it anymore. So that
yeah,
was, I mean, yeah, that was the biggest motivation to get surgery because I didn't even think about the training and stuff. I was like, I got to get rid of this pain because it's making me, yeah, go crazy. It
yeah.
wasn't.
I can relate, but not to the severity of you, but I can definitely relate because like I have to like sit and like I find that like lying down sometimes is the only solution for me. Like I'll sit for such a long time or like it just feels like right now, for example, like it's a little uncomfortable, but like it's not a pain, it's just an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
But then like when I'm lying down more times, then like my posture is horrible. Like I credit it to like bad posture, and probably like bad form with like some exercises like deadlifts. When I first started doing them, like the form was brutal,
Yeah.
and I
No,
just did.
but it's mostly genetic, but also it's posture. It's not. It can be bad form, but if it's bad form, it's going to be pretty immediate injury. It,
Yeah, true.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you correct it, it's going to get corrected in terms of
Mhm.
form. But I think, in my opinion, the reasons for back pain or back related injuries are just bad posture and because I have bad posture as well, but bad posture and bad posture, especially when sitting, and a
Yeah.
lot of sitting and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't have like I don't have a great chair either. Like some of the chairs that I sit on, like they're not great.
Yeah.
Like well,
You know,
I'm been looking
I
into.
got I got this tip from my doctor. Not the doctor that did the surgery, but the doctor that's helping me now recover. Um, get a exercise ball, like a big one,
Oh yeah.
and sit on that because that makes you have to stand, like sit up, upright and work with
Okay.
posture.
Yeah, because it has
Also,
like
also
yeah.
have a monitor just like eye level or a little bit above your eye level.
So then you're not like leaning in, like because I
Yeah,
find that like if the
exactly.
computer is like, for example, I'm at like a table right now. If the computer, like I have my phone on a tripod, but like if
Yeah,
I was on the computer, my natural tendency would be to do this.
yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
I have the same. I have everyone's like this. Right? Most of the people actually, and that's why
Yeah.
sort of people have back problems.
So is that what? So do you find that the exercise ball? Did you try that or?
Not yet. I still have to buy one. But
Yeah.
I will buy one. I will buy one. Yeah, because
I was thinking about that because I was gonna buy like I got like a little home office setup here or whatever, and I was thinking about like looking into buying a chair, and then like I seen there was a little bit on the exercise ball, and then I didn't really think too much of it because it was just one of those things where it was like, well, I'm just gonna buy a chair, right?
obviously,
But now I think that I think I'll definitely try it because like it's a much cheaper option,
yeah,
and I think that for me, it's like you mentioned, like even with a chair, I don't even think you're going to be able to get the same posture because like a stability ball forces you to almost like contract your core. Like if you're sitting on a stability ball, like it props you up to the point where there's no back support. So like there's no like leaning. So like it allows you to like engage. I feel like that would work. That would work really, really well.
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, and I looked into chairs and like they're wanting like $600 for a chair. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
like something that's like ergonomic or something that like is like decent. You
like
know what I
those
mean? So,
gaming chairs and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like I don't want to buy. My biggest thing is like I wouldn't say I'm frugal, but I'm pretty like decent with my money or whatever. But like I wouldn't want to buy something that and then like it to not work, because I have an office chair right now and it's like it's shitty. So like I don't want to buy another one and have to throw out two office chairs.
Yeah.
So I guess now where are you at right now with your recovery process? Like how are you like back to kind of training normal, or is it kind of like is
Mm.
it still kind of an issue?
I just started a week ago training. I mean, I started what is it, like a month? No, what is it, 5 weeks ago with the recovery training, and that's mostly core stuff and mobility training and stuff like that. And like last week, I started weight training, but it's like I have a home setup like dumbbells that are like I don't know, like 9 kilos. I have a pull-up bar, so I do some pull-ups with the elastic bands, obviously, because
Yeah.
yeah, and then all of the other exercises I have to do them seated. So basically, I'm just getting slowly back into it. And
That's the right way to do it though, because like if you were to go and like try to go back to what you were doing before, like it might not be as an issue, but like there could be something that happens, and I think it's better just to take it
yeah,
slow and like being able, since you were out for such a long period of time anyways, like just to kind of ease yourself back into it.
exactly,
I
exactly.
think that's totally
Yeah,
the right.
like I'm gonna train at home for the next month probably, and then get a gym membership, and then slowly transition there and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's gonna take a while, and that's why my goal is to get back into decent shape, and like I told you, like beginning of January. So it's quite a long time until then. So that's why I want to take my time, so that I'm not gonna create another issue. That's
Yeah.
not. you know.
So are you still kind of experiencing, are you still experiencing pain like from sitting or standing
No,
or
it was gone from right after I got surgery, you know.
that's
The
awesome.
sciatic pain, the nerve pain from the back injury, but from the hernia. But there's still like a little bit of pain near the surgery, and also
Yeah.
just a bit of sciatic pain, but that's gonna go with time. That's what it says, just gonna. But that's nothing compared to what I had, so I
Yeah.
can live with that, you know. And it's not all
I
the
bet
time.
you that was a big relief, right? Like having to like,
You can't imagine. I was like, first time I stood up, I was like, okay, I can't wait to stand up, see if it worked, and I couldn't believe it. You know, I was like, wow, it's crazy, it's crazy. I was still in like huge pain, but I knew like it wasn't that pain anymore. You know, that nerve pain is
it
horrible.
wasn't the
It's horrible.
same. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it was a different kind of pain, and it sucked, but you know, like it got better day after day, and then I started walking, and then like my workouts were just fasted walks and stuff, like trying to get 10,000 steps, 15,000 steps, and stuff like that. So that's how I stayed motivated. Actually, that's
But
how I.
I was saying that would be a good way because I found that like I know personally for me, I didn't go through something like that, but like when I was during like COVID, when you were like had to be like to your homes or like being isolation or whatever, I just found that the hardest thing for me was to get moving. Like I would do a lot of work from home anyways, but like I would like non-COVID, I would be going to the gym, I'd be going out for like a drive, I'd be going for walks, I'd just be living life the way like you're
Yeah,
supposed to live
of course,
or whatever.
of
So like
course.
I'd be getting like all these steps in, I would be getting like I would go to the gym. I got a good workout in. Like it was just something that, like I just took for granted. But like once COVID happened, like I was stuck to my home. I wasn't getting the steps in. I wasn't doing anything. I was literally just like sitting down all day. And like whether or not I worked out, like there'd be some days where I wasn't even motivated to work out. So I think the steps one is a really good one. I started doing that myself, where like I'd set a step goal, and I would, if I had to walk around my apartment or whatever, like I just have a small little apartment, but like I tried to take breaks like every 15, 20 minutes, like get up, get moving, because it was
Exactly.
extremely tough. That's a really good thing though. Like have a step target, because then
Yeah.
it allows you to like challenge yourself and to
In
kind of
general, you gotta set goals, you know. So
yeah,
if your goal is to be more active, set up a step goal, you know. It's
yeah,
gonna make you more active, obviously.
for sure. So I just want to touch on one last thing before we draw it to an end here.
Yep.
So in terms of like your training, like I know I understand that you do coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What motivated you or what inspired you to want to do coaching? And I guess like in terms of your clientele, like where do you see the like from your education perspective, like what is your ideal client or who is the people that you're looking to attract to your coaching?
All right. Well, basically, what got me into it was friends, family members starting to ask me for tips and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and I would give them some tips, and then they would come back and say, "Oh shit, this has really worked," you know. Thanks for the
Hmm.
tip. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. I was like, okay, maybe I could, yeah, just try to do this for a living, or not for a living, but at least help people and get something out of it, you know,
Yeah.
financially
Instead of
speaking.
giving it
And
away for free.
I also didn't really enjoy the education that I got, like from the bachelor degree, the hospitality degree. I didn't really want to get into that after I finished it. It's good to have it, you know, as a plan B, or you know, like I got a job now because I mean, it's good to have a degree, obviously. Um, but I didn't really enjoy it, so I was like, maybe it's better to do something that's more related to what you enjoy doing, and at the same time help people. So that's how I got into it. And then I slowly started doing some personal training. And then I transitioned into online coaching and personal training. And then now I just do online coaching. But probably, maybe in the future, I'm going to do personal training again. But for now, I'm sticking to online coaching and the full-time job that I have at the moment. Um, yeah, but for the future, I would say I want to grow this online coaching business. Obviously, that would be
Yeah.
nice. Would be nice. Yeah.
I think it's like it's really good to kind of like that's something I've never really did was the personal training. Like I do online coaching, but I've never really actually
You
like
never
did it.
tried it?
Not like actual like personal training, like in the other than like friends and family.
Yeah, yeah,
But like not like I've trained like couple friends or whatever like in the gym where I actually like more than just once. I
yeah.
put them on a program like a 6 week program or an 8 week program,
That's
and then we just go to the gym and I would just either
yeah,
do it on my days off. Like I'd go to the gym with them and just show them stuff.
yeah,
But then I just realized that like for me it was the passion for teaching because I've always wanted to teach.
Yeah.
like a school teacher or whatever. So for me, it was like to kind of mix that with fitness and to kind of like mix personal. So for me, I think that's something that I am interested in doing, is like to kind of like do online, but also do personal training. So I'm kind of like looking into like the positions into personal training, and like I've got like the CanFit. So we use CanFit here, which is like the personal training thing. You can get whatever you want. I think you just take them. Most of them are online. But like I went through CanFit to do the personal training certificate. So I've kind of got like one leg up, I guess you'd say. But like I think that like training somebody in the gym is just completely different than training them online. Like I feel like to me, it's hard to motivate somebody when you don't see them. And like if you do like check-ins and stuff, like you can, like I do all my check-ins on Skype, what we're using right now. But like for the most part, like it's hard to be able to like not go to the gym with somebody and make sure that like that's what I enjoy. Like I actually enjoy like helping people with their form, helping people. So like I think that if it'd be something I would be interested in doing for sure is to get maybe like a full-time job and yeah.
Give it a try, definitely. It's quite nice actually, because
Yeah.
you can of course, the term and the job description of personal training is just putting people on a program and helping them train. But what I used to do when I was doing personal training, I was doing just simply online coaching, but being with them when they were training, because I will give them a diet plan as well and everything else. So it's really nice when you know you can motivate a person and you put them on a plan and you know they're gonna go through it properly, especially the training part, because the diet you can't really control. If a client lies to you, then says, yeah, I ate everything, but then maybe sometimes you can tell if they're lying, because nothing is changing, and like it should be changing.
Yeah.
But
the biggest thing was like when they used to try to cover it up or whatever, and they used to like tell me they had a cheat meal on like it's like to be like, oh yeah, I screwed up on Saturday, and then I'd get them to submit their logs on Monday, and then I looked at the log and Saturday was perfect.
yeah,
and I'm like, I thought you said that you cheated on Saturday. Like, oh yeah, shit, I did. And then you can just tell like sometimes they were like forgetting and like not and just writing in the numbers. And then another thing that was a standout for me was when people are hitting the exact same calories every day, like they're just like copy pasting, and it's just like, all right, like I understand like you're on a plan, but like you could use like a 20-calorie ketchup. You could use like a little bit more spray. You could have like another like drink that's like 50. You know what I mean? Like there's things that vary during the day. Like even if you are, so like
there's no way you can get it exactly the same. I mean, if you're on prep, and then you have exactly the same food every day, maybe, but otherwise, not.
And then for me, it was just like a sign that like okay, and like having to deal with it, I think is the worst, right? Like having to confront some people, and it's like it's always like an awkward conversation. But I mean, that's something that like makes a good coach, right? Is to be able to hold people accountable. And I think like working with the right people too. I think that like being selective, as much as like maybe you don't have a lot of clients or maybe you do, like I think that every coach, no matter if you have a lot of clients or not a lot of clients, I think people should be more selective. Because if you take on like the wrong people, it's just going to be more of a hassle for you, because you think that you have a client and then they end up like quitting in a month, and you know what I mean. It's just like it's tough because you go through that whole process of like trying to help them, and then I'm the kind of person that will bend over backwards for somebody. Like if somebody like I'll do anything to like help. I'll go above my means to be able to try to help somebody or give somebody a program or like do like extra stuff on top of what I'm doing, like help people with posing or like correct form issues, and like if they send me videos, like I'm open to all that kind of stuff. But like it's just kind of like crappy when you take on the wrong person and then they end up just like not putting in as much effort as you are. So I think that's something that I learned from doing online coaching, is to be like, as much as you would like the money, you know what I mean? I think that like being selective and taking on the right people,
that's true.
Because like it's less of a burden for you, and having to like always check in with that person. I always found that like some people I wouldn't say I didn't like checking in as much with, but like I always felt like I was their mother, or like their father, and like I don't like you need to be motivated. Like we can discuss your like if you have a slip up, that's fine, like that happens, but like you need to want it, and like I can't make you want it. So like if you don't want to lose the weight, like I can only do so much, If you're not following the nutrition plan, then that's on you. So I think being selective was probably the number one thing that I started doing.
I don't think I got to the point in which I can tell if someone is not a good client or not. But I
Yeah.
don't think I ever refused the client or told him or her that he or she should quit. But yeah, with time, I think you can kind of tell like from some signs that okay, that person maybe is not a good client for me. But I
Yeah.
haven't got to the point yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that like when I first started, it was something that I never really considered. And then I just had so many people that were dropping out and just like they just weren't a good fit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So for
yeah.
me, it was just like
Well,
something
I
that I
mean,
was like,
it's
I'd rather not get a client than to have the stress of signing somebody up and then like working through their thing. And then I've got this big vision in my head for them. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah,
okay, in like 6 months, like you're going to be a completely different person. And it's just like they just lose all motivation. And whatever I do, I can't seem to. So for me, it was like a stress on my end, being like, oh God, like I wish this person, you know what I mean, would just. But it's
yeah.
just that
There's not
that's on
much
them.
about it. That's the thing. There's not
No.
much you can do about it. You can
So
be the best coach in the world. Like there's not much you can do about these persons. Like if they don't have the will to do it or the
yeah,
vision, because I think if you have the vision, then the will come. You know.
yeah,
But if they don't have the vision, they don't even see it in their head that it's possible,
yeah.
then it's gonna happen. You know.
Yeah, and I think that it's hard to get somebody to believe in themselves when like you know what I mean when they're not motivated. So
Yeah.
that's a tricky part.
Yeah.
But that's also what I enjoy about it too is helping people. You know what I mean? See that.
Yeah.
But
Of
yeah,
course.
I always found that was hard. But so just one last question before we wrap it up.
Go ahead.
So where do you see yourself in 10 years? I guess this is just like one of those. I always just seem to ask it, so I'm just going to kind of stick with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a
That's a
thought
good question.
provoking.
It's a good question because you don't really think about it, you know. At least I don't really think about it. I don't think other people think about it that much, you know. Where am I going to be in 10 years? You just take it one day at a time.
Yeah,
But I don't know. 10 years
terms
is
of like your fitness and maybe like a personal like a fitness accomplishment,
yeah,
and then like a personal accomplishment.
yeah. Well, let's say fitness related. I would say yeah, definitely achieve some great things into bodybuilding. Like if I continue to be a competitor, which I want to, obviously stay injury free, and be able to reach as far as I can go, you know, into
Mhm.
this competing thing, and also in terms of business, in terms of fitness, I would say be able to get to grow the online coaching business, but more I would go into the real life situation in terms of creating and building my own gym. That's one of the
Yeah,
main goals that I have, you know.
yeah,
Have my own gym and then put my own vision into it because I've never been in a gym that would be perfect for me, you know. There's always
yeah,
some things that I change. So I want to make a gym that's exactly the way I see it in my own head, you know.
yeah,
And personal, I would say, yeah, just have a family, you know. I would say, like
yeah.
in years, definitely have a family, have 2 kids, you know, and
Two
yeah,
kids, eh?
yeah. 10
Yeah,
years, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot,
I
man. 10 years.
know. See, the reason why I think about it is because like I remember, so I'm 30 right now, right? But I
Yeah,
remember when I was 20, like it was just like when I was 20, I didn't ever think I would be the same person when I'm 30. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it was something where it's hard to kind of do that, like to go back in your head and be like, so I was 20 10 years ago, and it's like, what was I thinking when I was 20? Like where did I think like I could have had a, you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to think. So I think that like allowing yourself to kind of like get in your own head and be like, okay, what do I need to do to make this happen? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people don't think like people think 10 years is a long time, but like it really isn't. Like you'll be in 10 years, like 10 years flies by. So like in
yeah,
order to accomplish like what you need to accomplish, I feel like you also need to like live life by the day. I think that's important as well. But like for me,
yeah.
it's just like to
That's
have like
that's the
checkpoints.
that's the main problem that I have. That I live um, a lot in the present. Basically,
Yeah.
I have my dreams, of course, I live in the present, but that's why my girlfriend helps me with it, like with this vision, like be able to look into the future and like, what are you thinking? Maybe this is not a good thing to do because, yeah, you live too much in the present. Just think about how far can you take this, how far can you take that, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I just think that it's like it's good to have like a vision and to be able to like see a vision isn't really anything if you're not putting it into motion, right? So
Yeah,
like,
also you need a time frame. If you have a vision but you don't have a time frame, you're never gonna reach your goals.
and I think that the time frame has to be like it has to be realistic. It has to be relevant. Like you can't
You need some
like
pressure, yeah.
you can't say like I'm gonna win.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, that was a goal.
all right.
You can't say like I'm gonna win the Mr. Olympia in like 5 years, right? Because like, that's just not realistic. So you have
Yeah.
to be able to. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to like do something. Like the biggest thing I've been living by was like to do something each and every day that's going to get me closer to where I want to be. Right.
Yeah.
So like, if I have like two goals to like be, I want to win my natural pro card in like bodybuilding. Right. So in order for me to do that, I need to be training hard and I need to be eating right. So like each and every day, I make sure that like I'm hitting my macros.
Yeah.
I'm training hard. I'm going to the gym. So like that's something I'm trying to do. And then like personal goals, like growing my business. Like I'm trying to be like proactive on social media. I'm trying to like put YouTube content or YouTube out, Instagram out. I'm trying to like be informative. I'm trying to do podcasts. I'm trying to like engage with as many people as I can in order to like set myself up to a position where like it opens my doors for like having online coaching because
Yeah.
more people are exposed to my content, more people understand the message I'm trying to deliver. And I think that like over time, like that's my goal is to like have a full-time online coaching business, and to be able to be like a successful competitor as well.
Yeah.
So I think that just like having like things that are like set in stone each day that I have to do. And I mean, it can be very like hard because it's hard to sometimes like people don't understand. Like I don't like going out. Like I don't party, I don't drink, I don't like, and it's hard for a lot of people. Like I don't eat shitty. But it's hard for people to understand that like they don't understand why I'm doing it. A lot of people. So it's like,
Yeah. Of course not.
yeah. So it's just like to have that like vision, and I think that like it can run away from you pretty quickly if you don't
Yeah.
just take proactive steps. So that's kind of something that I've been working on.
Yeah. That's true.
Awesome. All right, I think that's going to do it. Do you have anything else that you'd like to kind of say just to kind of wrap up the podcast? Anything that you're thinking about or any type of thoughts that you want to kind of leave?
I don't know, just stay motivated, I would say, because I never found motivation to be difficult, like difficult to be motivated to do something, especially when it came to gym. But going through the injury, I realized, yeah, now I can understand people when they say, "Oh, I don't have the motivation to do this or do that." So it's you gotta find something that keeps you motivated. Just stick with it, and then it will come. Basically, you just have to really search for it and find what really motivates you, no matter what you do. Actually, no matter
Yeah,
what type of thing you're into, you gotta find the motivation to do it because if you really like it, sometimes you will have these tests when motivation is lacking, so you have to find that thing. Don't just quit. Don't quit. Yeah,
yeah,
that's my
yeah.
message.
Like the greatest people, like the people that achieve the biggest things, like they weren't motivated every single day, right? So you got to
Exactly.
like you got to look at it from like I think the biggest thing is it's like people like allow their feelings to dictate their actions. So like I think the biggest thing is just to put your feelings aside. Like no matter how you feel, like not everybody feels like going to the gym every single day. Not everybody feels like eating chicken and rice every day. Not everybody feels like editing a video for 5 hours to put it out on YouTube. But like at the end of the day, it's like those are just your feelings, and like your feelings can like limit yourself to being able to like actually achieve what you want to achieve. So I think that like not caring how you feel and just doing it regardless sometimes can be the best thing for you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that like that's true with some things because there's things that I don't like to do, but like that need to get done. Like I need to do laundry, I need to do dishes, I need to cook my meals, I need to you know what I mean? Just things that like general life things that like you need to do. And it's just like not everybody wants to do them. But like to be able to put your feelings aside when you're not feeling the best, you're not feeling motivated, you don't feel like going to the gym, just get in your car and drive to the gym and go. Like I just think that just don't think about it. Like I think a lot of people like overthink it. They're like, oh, I got to wake up, or like, how am I going to go to the gym tomorrow? I got to work 8 hours, and then I got my meals, and just don't think about it. Just get up in the morning, go to the gym, and like just I feel like that's the biggest thing. Is just don't allow your.
But actually, yeah, that's well put. Like just don't think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, just do it. Don't let your emotions come into play. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my last thing. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Sharing invite, man.
Yeah, no problem at all. And how I always end every podcast is don't forget to be inspiring, stay motivated, and continue to push your limits.
Good one.
Awesome.